What's going on, Chicago? Here we are back at it again for another week of Chicago Sports Talk. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and rocking with your boy. We got a lot to get into today, boy. We got a lot to get into today because on today's episode, we got to talk about a bad week by both teams in this mug, man. The Chicago Bears and the Chicago Bulls come out looking flat. Well, I can't say that, right? The Bears didn't come out looking flat. The defense looked flat for the most part. So we'll be talking about that. We'll also be breaking down, how the Chicago Bulls looked last night. We're going to listen in on Justin Fields' press conference. We're going to be listening in on Coach Flus's press conference. And we're going to try and kind of get to the bottom of this. And I'll say this, right? I think that two things can be true. I think that the Chicago Bears, as we're starting this off, offensively, Justin Fields offensively can look good while the team as a whole experienced a bad loss. And there's some people that'll disagree with me on that, but we'll have that discussion in here, man. Appreciate you guys tuning in and rocking with us, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel to talk Chicago sports, how Chicago talk. So make sure you get in tune with us, man. I need y'all to go ahead and
push the button. Come on. Push the button. Come on, push the button.
Yeah, come on, push the button.
Push that like button, man. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and rocking with us, man. Everybody that's in here, it does help when you hit that button. How you guys feeling today, man? Tough loss, tough weekend for the Chicago teams, man. But we're going to here's the thing. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to move past it. We're going to figure this thing out. And there's two things that I think can be true that we have to talk about when we're talking about our teams. And specifically focusing in here on the Bears. They come out in that game, they lose a tough game, a game that they should have been able to win, a game that they should have been able to come away with. Your offense put up 30 points. You should have been able to finish that game out. You should have been able to, outside of a couple of mental mistakes, right, win that. And I know there's a lot of people that are going to look at the refs and say, wow, the refs really hosed the Bears on this, and they kept this drive alive. But you know what? At the end of the day, if you don't put yourself in a position to get hosed on calls, you're not there. Right now, when you think about it, when you look at this Bears team, we gave them the momentum. We gave them the opportunity. We gave them of course, on that one drive where they come down, they scored a touchdown. They're able to get into the end zone off of a very, very couple of questionable calls. The call on Eddie Jackson. I think that the officiating was, again, mid, but you shouldn't have lost the game because of officiating, right? Because you put up 30 points. I think, again, you can look at the team and you can say, hey, if the defense just gets a stop here, that's where I'm focusing at. And I also understand where this defense is at. I also understand that you traded defense for offense. Cairo Santos misses a kick, shouldn't have come down to a field goal. Is it okay that he missed that kick? No. Both things can be true, but it shouldn't have come down to a PAT beating you. Right? And so for me, I'm looking at this game for what it was. This was a bad loss. And if you're one of those people that's going to come in here and say, but the draft position, yes, the draft position improves. Yes, Justin Fields and the offense looked good. Yes, there's so much that you can take away from this game that's good. But there are certain games that I think can make and break the current team that you have. So I'm just talking about for this season. There are games that you have where you feel like, hey, we went out there and we competed with the Miami Dolphins. We went out there and competed with the Cowboys. We went out there and if we clean these couple of things up, we're going to be able to take that next step. We're going to be able to get to that next level. Now, I did feel like at times in this game, like the NFL refs were like, hey, listen, there's going to be a lot of laundry on this field because you want to call us out for not doing our job well, and now we're called out in public because you're calling us out for not doing our job well, which I don't know if that's the case, right? But that's how it felt as a Bears fan watching that game. But you were up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Going into, the last 8 minutes of the game? And you allowed a Detroit team that it looked lifeless for most of the game with some help to work its way back in there and beat you. And when I say you allowed, right, it's because of the small things. It's only 1 or 2 plays that make or break a game. There's only one or two plays that change the entire trajectory of a game for you. And the problem for the Chicago Bears is those one or two plays all came in the fourth quarter. I thought you played 3.5 great quarters of football. But you compounded a mistake that was made by allowing them to, I mean, listen, they were driving down the field regardless of what you think about the penalties. Did the penalties help them? Yeah, 100%. But they were driving down the field. They got into field goal range. They got into scoring position. They score the touchdown. And then on top of that, you got into another bad position right after that where Justin Fields just drops back and just throws it to the sky. And I understand, right, and we'll listen in on Justin Fields. He talked about the offense as well. And I understand, right, saying that it'll never happen again in your career. It'll never, but to me, right, that's a loss that changes kind of where the mindset of most of this team is going to go the rest of the season. Now, Justin Fields, he's going to come out. Justin Fields, that he's going to come out and try to ball out. That he's going to come out and try to give it his all. That he's going to come out, and he's been the brightest spot on this team. There's a ton of good with Justin Fields. I love the way he's been able to drop back. I love the way that that Justin Fields' mechanics have improved throughout the season. Dan Orlovsky pointed something out. I think it was just on Twitter where he was talking about Justin Fields and how he's being coached up, and it gives me more faith in the coaching staff. He talked about how he's being coached up, how you can tell that he's a better player than when he started the season. There's the first pass that he delivers, right? And this is for everybody that's like, oh, he can't stand back there and throw the football. The first pass that he delivers, you see him drop back, and they talk about Bears, they talk about the, having good. What's the word? Holding, basically keeping both hands on the ball, having good, I forget what it's called, awareness of like where the defenders are around you and how to keep your hands on the ball. And you see Justin just dropping back, holding his hand on the ball the entire time. Boom, we're making this play. Now I'm stepping up. Now I got to do this. Okay, now we got to come over here. But 2 hands on the ball the entire time, making sure that ball is secure. That's something that Justin had struggled with last season and early on in this season, right? Justin fumbled the ball a lot. The ball was on the carpet a lot. We didn't lose a ton of fumbles. But you can see the improvement in that, right? Like I can point to that specifically and say, wow, that's something now that Justin Fields didn't do early on. Justin would keep the ball out, keep it, ball security. Thank you. That's great ball security. You know what I mean? Shout out to the chat. By the way, we got the chat up here. Don Burr in here. Hey, let Don have his week, brother. I'll let Don have his week. Don got his jersey. Shout out to Don. Got his jersey by the skin of his teeth. I'll drop my email in the chat, Don. Send me an email with all your information and stuff like that. We'll get you your jersey. Don't worry about it. He got his Swift jersey. Situational awareness, that's another great way to say it, right? That's actually the word I was looking for, great situational awareness, right? He's realizing that there's hands around him. He's realizing that there's a lot that can impact a play if you get the ball knocked out of your hand. He's realizing that. And in those situations, I see growth. In those situations, I see good coaching, right? I like that I'm seeing that. That's pretty funny, actually. Send him a black and white striped one. That's pretty funny. There's good to see with how he's using his feet, listen, he's the best player on the field. There was no question yesterday that he wasn't the best player on the field. There was no question in anyone's mind yesterday who the best player on the field was. And we've never been able to say that about our quarterback. That's good. But you just have to get a little bit more, right? There's just a couple of plays that you're there, but you're not there by the skin of your teeth. And you know what that is? Yesterday, you saw what bad football teams do. Yesterday, you saw what bad football teams do. The Chicago Bears found a way to lose that game. Whether you think with a little bit of help, whether you think, right, with a little bit of whatever it is, right, they found a way to lose that game. And I will say this, the refs shouldn't have been able to lose that game for you. Because we can talk about questionable calls the entire game. And you were up big. You were up a couple of touchdowns. Now, the one thing that I will say about yesterday's game that I would really, really like to not see is how many designed runs there were for Justin Fields. I understand, right, we want to get him out, we want to use his legs, but again, I said the worry for me was falling too much in love with Justin's ability to use his legs. I feel like that's the one thing that had me the most concerned because Justin Fields is not Lamar Jackson. You saw in that game, Justin Fields, when he drops back and has time, he has an ability to throw the ball both deep and now he's getting much better throwing the intermediate pass. Those are the things that I'm right. Like that's what I want to see from Justin Fields, right? He's has an ability to pass the football. You can see that there's not an ability to protect him that well. And so he has to get out and move his feet. But I would rather see more, not as many designed runs. I would rather see more, right, like what we've been seeing, right? Like kind of, hey, listen, you have the green light if this play breaks down to take off. You have the green light that if this play breaks down to get out of there. But make sure that it's if this play breaks down, right? Like I think that the concern for me is that there's not a long life for running quarterbacks. And I understand what it is this season going into next, but one hit could change everything. Now, granted, right, you still got to catch him. You still got to catch him. And clearly, nobody can catch him. What's buddy name? Is it Okuda? Okuda runs a 4.4. His former teammate, he runs a 4.4. Just like Justin. And you saw who's the faster in that situation. You know what I mean? You saw who's faster in that situation. But this is what happens, right, when you're going through a rebuilding season and you're trading defense for offense. While that is a bad loss, we can still point to what happens. Well, yeah, we got better draft position. We got better this and that. The defense just looks lost consistently. The one bright spot that I think is really like, oh my goodness, like look at that, was the fact that you saw Jack Sanborn be able to come out and really make some good plays. He came out and he played really well. Like the video if you agree. He came out and he played really well in his first legit, I think that not his first, right, but like first like full week of practice, full week of getting in there, being able to stand next to him. I really like what Jack Sanborn was able to show. That doesn't mean that he's your middle linebacker of the future, or you know what I mean, but I thought that he put some good tape on and that he played a really good game. I thought there were some interesting calls there that take away some of his big plays, but I thought that he played a really good game. And so for me, right, I'm going into this saying that's the bright spot. What's the rest of the problem? You couldn't get a stop. The Bears' third down defense is probably the worst in the NFL. Right? Like I spent most of the beginning of this video talking about the positive. I spent most of the beginning of this video talking about the positive. Now I got to look at the negative. On the negative side, your defensive line cannot create pressure. They just can't. You got rid of Robert Quinn. That's a big piece of that, but you weren't creating much pressure outside of that either, right? With Robert Quinn on the team. Your defense can't get a third down stop. That's been an issue all season. And teams are exploiting that. And the Lions exploited that. Heck, Jared Goff on the third down plays looked like he was Tom Brady out there circa 2008. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that's an issue. Jalen Johnson got cooked consistently. Jalen Johnson was getting cooked consistently, and he's the one where we was like, well, teams really aren't throwing at him, right? Maybe he's better than we let. He had a horrible game. It's probably the worst game of the season. And I've always had question marks, right? Because you don't see a ton of passes go Jalen Johnson's way. So when you do, it's like, hey, that was a nice breakup. But then every now and then you'll see a play, you'll be like, I feel like he should have been able to make that play if he's the player that we drafted. I feel like he should have been able to make that play. And not to say he's not to say that he's not going to be a great player for the Chicago Bears, not to say that he's not going to be a great DB for the Chicago Bears. But I think that there was a lot of plays in that game where you looked at him and you were like, that's not the guy I expected. And I'm sure, right, he's probably a little dinged up or something's going on. We know he came back. He came back from injury. I think he only practiced 2 days this week or 3 days this week. I think he only played 2 days, something like that. But it didn't look good. And I'm sure there's something that we don't know. I'm sure there's something behind the scenes that you know what I mean? But that was, right, to me, the defense just can't hold up its end of the bargain right now. The defense just can't hold up its end of the bargain right now, and it's costing you some games. But you know what? The offense also helped you take that L. The offense also puts you in that position. The offense also, Justin Fields throwing that interception, that's bad. And guess what? Here's the thing. That's what you have to live with a young team. That's a loss that bad teams get. That's a loss that bad teams deal with. Because when you're a bad team, you find a way to give the game back to them. We found a way to give Detroit that game. Detroit had essentially started to lay down and just kind of accept the fate that was coming. Right? And then they score on that touchdown on the same one for the Phantom where they said he pushed Goff while he was out of bounds. I don't know where that was at, right? He punched the football out. I thought it was a really good play, actually, by Kyler Gordon, and Goff started talking a little trash. They scored a touchdown, and then we compounded over the span of a pick six. Right? Those things hurt you. Now you get it right back. You get it right back with Justin Fields being able to run the touchdown. But at that point, right, like, I feel like those were just 2 really quick plays in succession. Your defense was looking bad anyway. They were probably gassed after having a full drive happen to them. Justin comes out right on the next play, throws a pick six, they score a touchdown. And then, right, the next play, what was it, 2 plays? And then he breaks for the big run and he scores a touchdown. So your defense is gassed out there, going back out there gassed again, and they just couldn't get a stop. That's a problem. And here's the one thing that I want everybody to understand when they're grading their DBs going through the tape this week. Oh, he got cooked. Oh, he got burnt. Oh, how many seconds is he trying to hold on with that receiver? How long is he trying to hold on with that receiver? How long is he trying to stick around with that receiver? Because your defensive line is creating no pressure. And the one thing that I said in my preview is, I said Jared Goff's not a good quarterback. Jared Goff will absolutely make mistakes. Jared Goff will absolutely give you the ball if you're able to take that ball away from him. But the one thing that you cannot do is not put pressure on Jared Goff, and you just didn't. You didn't force Jared Goff to have to sit there and try and get out of their pocket. You didn't force Jared Goff to sit there and have to worry about who's coming on his backside. Like, you don't. You didn't. And I'm going to be honest with you, right? Like, if you have games where you're not getting pressure to the quarterback, if you have games where you're not getting to Jared Goff, guess what? He's going to be able to play well. He's what he is, right? He's a game managing quarterback. He's not the end all be all. But if you're not forcing him to have a bad day, he's not going to have a bad day. So again, yes, can I look at the laundry on the field and say, wow, there was a lot of laundry on our side. There was essentially no laundry on their side. Seems like they were trying to make this game even. Yeah, I can. But you can't control laundry. That's the one thing that I love about Flus. Flus understands that you can't control laundry. Flus understands that you can't control the refs throwing flags. You just can't. Sometimes you get bad referee crews. Sometimes that they interject themselves in the game way too much. Sometimes you can't control that. What you can control is how many mistakes you make on the field that put the team in a position to be successful. And to me, yesterday, while yes, there was a ton of laundry on the field, yes, there was a ton of flags thrown on the Bears, there's a ton of things that we can look at defensively on this team. There's a ton of things that we can look at offensively in this game, even with the Bears playing as good as they did, right? That you look at and you say, yeah, I can see how Detroit won this game. I can see how they got back into this game. That's where you see the issues. And to me, right, like, again, there's more good than bad. But it just looks like a team. You know what it looks like to me? And I said this the other day. I really feel this way. This team right now looks like year 2 or year 3, the year before Josh Allen ends up getting Stephon Diggs. That's what it looks like. Right? Because Justin Fields a big body. I don't want to see you dropping your shoulder into people like that, but you see him run over the DB as he gets into the end zone, gives Buddy a concussion. He's making plays with his feet. He's making plays with his arm. He's doing everything that he can. He's doing everything that he can to make a play, right? And he's making plays. He's the best player on the field. He's getting to the end zone. He's scoring touchdowns. He throws 2 touchdowns that are beautiful dimes to Cole Kmet. By the way, we got to talk about Cole Kmet on this. Great game by the young fella. I love what I'm seeing out of Cole Kmet. I love that there was somebody on Twitter that was like, oh, the Cole Kmet haters, where y'all at now? Where y'all at now? And literally it was like, I was like, all right, like I get it, but let's not get too chesty. And right as I said, like, let's not get too chesty, he throws another touchdown to Cole Kmet. I was like, all right, get a little chesty. You can ball out on that one. You can get hype on that one, right? But you're seeing the Bears improve offensively. You're seeing the Bears. I shouldn't even say the entire team, right? You're seeing Justin Fields improve. You're seeing Justin Fields make the right play, make the right decision, make the right read. You want to look at Justin Fields, for all of you, he's a one-read quarterback, and he always was a one-read quarterback at Ohio State, which, by the way, those are all dudes that I assume are 298 pounds, sitting at home with a beer belly, with the stomach hanging over the waistband in their mom's basement, breaking down the NFL plus all 22 because they played football in high school. So now they feel like that gives them the perfect degree to sit there and pick apart everything that they saw. But like, when I'm looking at the improvement of this team, when I'm looking at the improvement of Justin Fields reading a defense, going through his reads, multiple times yesterday, you saw. And it's the few times, right, where he wasn't under pressure, wasn't running for his life, wasn't under duress. You saw, boom, 1, 2, 3. There he is. I believe he gets back to Darnell Mooney on one. I gotta watch the All-22. I don't think the All-22 dropped on there yet. But, you see him go from right to left, and immediately, boom, let's make this throw. Bow, hit him. He's on read number 3. Reading the defense, taking what the defense is giving you. Finally, right? Like you're seeing that continued growth. You're seeing that continued development. It makes me feel really, really good. Makes me feel really, really good about where this Bears team is heading. Because it's not just, and like I was saying, it feels like that Bills team before they got a lot of talent on that team. It feels to me like that Bills team before they got, before they end up getting Stephon Diggs on that team. That's what it felt like to me. Watching that game yesterday, you see a couple of plays where you're just like, man, Justin is amazing. And then right as the offense, you're just like, there's nobody out there to help him. I look at that last drive. I look at that last drive, right? Justin Fields extends that play 3 times, literally just being bigger than everybody else. They're trying to bring Justin Fields down. Nope, juke move. Hey, let's get something open. Come on, find something open. Nope, get off of me right there. Give me something open. Okay, now they on me. Literally pushes the first dude off. Let's get off of me. And then there's just nothing left. But he extends that play to the point where you're talking about he's back in the pocket 5-6 seconds. 5-6 seconds, dog. That's growth. That's the best player on the field. And you got to get them more, and they will get more. And we'll talk about them getting more coming up, man. I do want to hear from Justin Fields. Justin Fields talking about he didn't care about the win. He doesn't care about the records because he did break another record yesterday. He also broke his own record for the longest run by a quarterback, which he had broke the week before. So we're going to hear from Justin Fields here in a second. Appreciate you guys tuning in and rocking with us. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the page, man. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel from 11 to 12 every day. I appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. Still got to break down kind of, where this puts the Bears. Bears are now slated to have the 6th pick in the draft. And just kind of what we want to see this team continue to do throughout the season. We're going to break that down. Going to listen in to Justin and listen in to Flus. And then we got to talk a little bit of Chicago Bulls, man, because Chicago Bulls are getting on my last nerve, especially calling every game this season, man. Appreciate y'all for showing love to the channel as always, man. Let's listen in on Justin Fields. Justin Fields is talking about, I don't care about breaking records. I just want to win games. And you can tell that he's doing everything to try and win these games.
It's a dumb play. Screen, the DN sniffed it out pretty good. So that.
Oh yeah, when I want to go to it, you gonna start tripping? Why has this been happening the last couple of weeks, dog? Last couple of weeks, the audio been tweaking on me. I gotta start downloading these videos. That's what you telling me? Hey, come on, dog. It's a one-man show out here, baby.
It's a dumb play. Screen, the DN sniffed it out pretty good. So that I can assure you that will never happen again for the rest of my career. Just screen, DN sniffed it out. Tried to move him a little bit and tried to float it over to Cole and just overthrew it, but just got to dirt it and play the next play. So yeah.
Justin, how can you reconcile right now the production you guys are having in terms of yards and points, and then not being able to get those drives late in the game when the game is there to be won?
So how can I reconcile?
Yeah. How do you match those two things up?
Just finish. We're putting up 30 points a game, so just finish when we get those late game drives.
What's missing from the finish?
Execution. Just finish. Pretty simple.
On your run at the end of the first half, the 1-yarder where you put your head down, walk us through what you were seeing, and then when you decided you were going to have to try and go through those two guys.
We tried to get the ball to Moon on that. The corners over there, they in and out of it, so kind of played zone to that little 2-man concept. So concept was dead, and really at that point you just had to make a play with your legs. So just made a play with my legs, and had to punch it in for the end zone. So yeah.
We saw you kind of with your helmet off, kind of firing up the guys right after that on the sideline. What were you saying?
I don't even know. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I have no idea, but I was definitely, hyped up after that touchdown. But yeah.
Justin, on that bootleg, the one to Cole, the 50-yard touchdown, how did he get so open on that? Was it just
their defense. Since we run a lot of keepers, stuff like that. Sometimes their safety tends to overplay the corner, and that's what he did on that play. And Cole ran a great route. We were practicing that all week, so just great execution overall by the offense.
On the last 4th down try, can you take us through what happened on that? Did you think about taking off and running with your legs?
Yeah, I did. But I was just trying to make a play. There was guys pretty much everywhere, so just trying to, at first I was trying to throw the ball downfield, and then I kind of just saw all the guys kind of in one area, but yeah.
Just on
Your
the-
ear on that one, it looked like you got cut up on the sack. What happened on that?
Yeah, I think there was just a gash in the back of my ear, so it was like dripping pretty bad. So I had to get a couple of stitches in the back of my ear, but other than that, I'm fine.
Just on the second touchdown run, where did you see that lane open up, and how much did Cole's action come in that direction, sort of open that lane there for you?
I mean, yeah, it's just reading the block really. So after I pulled it, I usually go to the outside, and then that corner just kind of played it to the outside, kind of, guessed that I was going to go outside, so I just cut it upfield, and then at that point just made the safety miss and then just took off. So yeah.
How soon did you know that was going to break like that? Like when you got to the second level, I saw it was just you and the safety, and he don't score. How soon did you know that it was just you and the safety?
After I kind of cut inside and made him miss like that, I knew it was over with. And at that point, you just gotta hope your legs don't give out on you. So yeah.
Last week to have the longest touchdown run the Bears quarterback's ever had, and then to get an even longer one this week. What's that feel like?
It feels good. Feels good. Just wish we would have came out with a dub. So yeah.
Matt said that you're really good at flushing the bad plays out. What's that process like for you?
I mean, just can't do anything about the past. Just kind of been my mindset. It's just what can you do now? Yeah, that happened. So what? So there's a lot of ups and downs throughout the game. A lot of flags that were called that we can't control, but you can't do anything like that. So really just controlling what you can control and just moving on from that point. So yeah.
And then a few weeks ago, you said that you were tired of being close. Obviously, you guys started putting up points now. Where are you now with the offense, and what is the next step?
Just keep growing. I think like I talked about earlier, late game drives, that situational 2-minute, you just got to finish, put up points, and just execute. So I think that's the next step for our offense.
So are you seeing any similar trends in why you guys have been able to finish late?
I'm sorry?
Is there anything similar game to game that's happening on those final drives that's preventing you guys from?
No, not really. I think, every game's different. Every defense is different. So, no.
How are you feeling physically right now?
Yeah, I'm hurting pretty bad. Not really from hits, but just my legs are kind of sore. But other than my legs being sore and, of course, my ear, I'm fine.
Justin, what's allowed you to find Cole Kmet a lot these last couple of weeks?
I think just our growth. I think Cole's getting better each and every week, I think, with his route running. And, he works hard day in and day out. So definitely happy for him and the way he's growing, the way he's, continuing to improve, each and every week. And just the extra work we put in after practice. It's crazy thing is on that touchdown, we ran that, I think we ran that route after practice like 3 times after like Wednesday or Thursday, and we missed on every one. So, it was kind of cool to see. Let's connect on that one.
How soon can you get to a place where you and Chase are able to get on the same page to be able to maybe check? I'm thinking about a play down by a red zone. I think you end up being a quarterback draw. You got like 5 yards on it, but he's singled up on your left side. How soon can you guys get to a space where you guys can check that and make that a fade?
I can't check that. That's not part of my job. So that was a QB draw call. So I'm not about to just check the whole different play and do that. But maybe in 5-6 years when I got a little bit more experience, but not now. Not now.
In terms of getting him involved, though, and getting a connection kind of on the fly here mid-season, what do you guys need to do to make sure he's comfortable and you're comfortable with him and all that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to take time, I don't think anybody expected him to just, come and just start having a 100-yard game. So it just doesn't work like that. So just getting on the same page, me knowing him knowing me, and, just working together.
We've talked a lot about how the offense has improved the last few weeks, different elements that have been added in. Does the element of Cole, having a tight end that can separate vertically, was that something that was missing early on in your estimation?
I think Cole's always been able to do that physically, but I think just the mental part of the game, I think he's really grown in that. And of course, just him, like I said earlier, just getting better and improving each and every week. I think that's going to help our offense thrive even more. So again, I'm just happy to see his growth, see his potential, and what he can bring for our offense.
Justin, is it tough sometimes to, like, you're having all these great accomplishments past few games? Is it tough to appreciate that and the questions about it when you guys aren't winning?
I mean, no, not really. It's not tough to grasp. It's just, what are your priorities as a player? Is it to break records or is it to win? And personally, mine is to win. I don't care about breaking records. I just want to win games. So just going to keep working and, keep battling.
It was Justin Fields talking about, just wanting to win games, just wanting to come away with these dubs, and he hasn't been able to do that to this point. It looks like, and here's the thing, right? I'll say this, and I love hearing, how Justin is, how he's talking about, the growth of the players that are on his team, how he's talking about the growth of, Cole Kmet, how he's talking about his own personal growth, right? And Coach T with a really good comment here saying, pull that over here so I can read it. And then, man, I got like 3 screens going on. Got my dual screen action. No, saying it lets you know how much leeway he actually has in this offense. He can't check out of plays, out of certain play calls to other simple play calls, right? It lets you know kind of where they have Justin Fields at right now. Like, hey, listen, these are the plays we're going to run. These are the plays that we're going to do, right? There's still a development process that's in place here. But think about what we're seeing here. We're seeing the best quarterback play that we've seen in Chicago, and he's developing. And the people around him are developing. And the play caller is developing. And the people that are going out here offensively that you're adding in just to do little things, right? Little motions, little different things, pre-play. They're developing. Your offensive line, I know it hasn't looked great most of the season, but it surprisingly is better than the beginning of the season. Developing. You are a developing team. You're a team trying to figure out what the heck is going on. You are a team that came into this season, and we're 10 weeks into the season now. And again, right, like I'm not the one that's going to sit here and say draft capital is the answer, and we're going to do, right, like that. At the end of the day, the Detroit Lions beat you. That's a bad loss for the Chicago Bears. That's a loss that, to me, right, probably dictates where the rest of the season goes. If you win that game and you go on a little win streak here and you feel good going through, right, and then all of a sudden you're looking up and you got 5-6 wins and you're like, oh, end of the season might not be that bad. We might be competing for something, right? Like that's a different situation than where we're at right now, where now you're 3-7. We just lost to the Detroit Lions. I think that was a loss that the Bears thought that they were going to win. That probably changes most of the mentality of a lot of the players that aren't going to be a part of this team long term in that building. And that's an issue, right? Like, and the Bears were very uncharacteristic yesterday, especially with a lot of the play calls and with a lot of the penalties and things like that. Like they played their worst game of the season versus the Detroit Lions, and that's crazy to say because we played a lot of bad games this year. But I think that there's still, right, like when you see that growth, when you see that, okay, Justin is doing this, and now all of a sudden we're adding Cole Kmet into there. Cole Kmet's starting to figure his game out. What we say coming into this season, the best weapon for a young quarterback is a tight end that can be there to bail you out, a tight end that can be there to make plays for you, a tight end that can just be that big body over the middle. Finally, we're seeing Cole Kmet start to be that. Haven't seen Chase Claypool get worked into this offense as much in a couple of weeks. I think Chase Claypool only played on 30% of the snaps on Sunday, so there's probably still a little bit of okay, he doesn't have the full grasp of the playbook yet. We're going to work him into some plays where he does have some better grasp and stuff like that. But didn't utilize Chase Claypool outside of one designed end around, wasn't it? It was an end around, I think, to Claypool that he ended up. Maybe not, man. Maybe a short pass or a screen pass. I don't remember. I gotta see that play again. But only one target, right? Caught the one target he got. Tried to get big. You know what I mean? But you're seeing, right, not just Justin Fields develop, but you're seeing some of the pieces that are young pieces on this team. You're seeing some of the pieces that are the pieces that we've been looking at for years and saying, what the heck's going on? I mean, Cole Kmet's been the tight end 4 years now. He's got a 4-year degree at tight end U at this point. You know what I mean? Like, so you're starting to see some of those connections be made, some of those. And again, right, that's just another step in the process. This season, right? There's no Super Bowl happening this season. There's more than likely no playoffs happening this season, because, like I said, I think a lot of the guys in that locker room are probably outside of the guys that are going to be there long term, outside of the guys that are going to be there, throughout the the duration of Justin Fields being there, and Flus really likes these guys. Most of these guys you're probably going to see gone, right? Like what Mike Ditka say, he's like, we've got he's saying training camp. He's like, hey, I want to let you know we're going to the Super Bowl this year. Most of y'all won't be there. That's how the rest of this season is going. That's how the rest of this season is going, right? Don Bird talking about the Bears have been undisciplined since y'all wide receivers punching people on the field last year. Yeah, okay. Don hasn't watched any Bears games this year, so I would expect him not to. This is a whole different regime, Don. Whole different regime. But to me, right, this is a game where, or this is a moment to look at this Bears team as, okay, now we're seeing the pieces start to fit. Now, what pieces can we add in, right? Like now you're seeing some key pieces pop up. Now you're seeing some key pieces start to make plays. Now you're seeing some key pieces start to grow. Pieces that we didn't think were going to grow. We didn't think Cole Kmet was going to be a major part of this offense 3 weeks ago. We thought he was going to be what he is. Listen, he's going to be out there. He's going to block for you. That's kind of how they're using him. They're not really getting him out there to make plays. Justin Fields and Cole Kmet have absolutely built a nice rapport. They've started to find each other a lot more. Right? They've started to figure out, okay, this is how this play, okay, this is where I need to find you. You heard Justin, right? Justin said, we didn't hit on that play, the deep ball that he hits Cole with, we didn't hit on that play all practice. But in the moment, they're figuring it out. That's something to focus in on. That's something to me that you can look at and you could say, okay, now we're starting to build a team. That's what I'm excited about with the Bulls, or with the Bears. That's what I'm excited about. That it's not just, is the quarterback good? It's about, are we building a team? It's not about, is the quarterback good? It's about, are we building an entire team? Are we building a football team? It's not just Justin Fields. Is he good? Are we seeing development from our football team? I think that we can say yes. Even in a bad loss. And here's the thing, right? This is the one thing that nobody wants to talk about. You don't get to the good wins without dealing with the bad losses. You don't get to the good wins without dealing with the bad losses. You don't get to the big playoff wins without dealing with the tough playoff losses. You think this is the last loss we're going to take? We got a long way to go, Chicago. We got a long way to go. We got to even get to the playoffs. We got a long way to go. And you don't get there without going through these lumps and bruises. Because you can't take that next step if you've never taken the step before. This season, you're taking the steps. This season, you're getting the lumps. Justin Fields is dealing with a lot of we did this, we could have done this, we could have made this, we could have done. Yeah. And you know what the one thing I love about Justin is? Justin's playing through. Justin's playing through. He's playing through the moments. He's playing through the penalty calls. He's playing through, okay, all right, that's a penalty. All right, let's go to the next one. Don't worry about it. We got to get to the next one. You hear that with how he talks, right? And that's the thing about it. The Chicago Bears aren't just developing their quarterback. They're building a team. And that is what I like about this Bears team that we're seeing grow here. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with us, man. Hit that like button if you haven't done so. Subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel talking Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man. If you haven't done so, I'm going to need you to go ahead and...
Push the button. Come on. Push the button. Come on, push the button.
Yeah, come on, push the button.
Hit that like button. Subscribe to the page, man. We do this Monday through Friday from 11 to 12 every day. Coming into this final topic, bro. We're going to switch gears here a little bit because It's as bad as the Bears were yesterday in that finish, as bad as that game finished out, they didn't hold a candle to what the Chicago Bulls did yesterday. The Chicago Bulls, with 3 days off and finally having time to practice and finally having time to rest and finally having time to go over some of the mistakes that we've seen, came out in a game and looked like a worse version of the Chicago Bulls team that was dealing with a back-to-back. A worse version of the Chicago Bulls team that was missing Zach LaVine. A worse version of a Chicago Bulls team that was missing players last year. And Billy Donovan calls the team out. Billy Donovan basically goes in his press conference and he says, hey, listen, you got to come out with the right attitude. You've got to come out with the right mindset. You've got to come out with, it doesn't matter, again, right, worrying about what the referees do. And this is the one thing about Justin Fields that we haven't seen on this Bulls team at all. Justin Fields, while, yeah, the refs make some tough calls. They make some interesting calls. Yeah, it looks bad. I hate to see it. All of that, right? Like, the Bulls sit there and they argue. Justin, hey, let's play through it. Let's figure it out. Next play. They'll sit there and they'll argue. They'll sit there and they debate. They want to, and on the other end, right, somebody's going down for a layup. Somebody's going down for a shot. Somebody's trying to figure out what the right move is for this team. Or not what the right move, what the right mindset is for this team at the beginning of the season is Billy Donovan's biggest struggle, along with the fact that I didn't think he coached a very good game yesterday. Michael Porter Jr. comes out and cooks you. Michael Porter Jr. came out and he absolutely cooked you. In 24 minutes, he had 31 points. And Billy Donovan throws Alex Caruso out there on him multiple times. And every time Caruso was on him, he starts cashing out. Every time Patrick Williams was on him, yeah, he's still knocking down shots, but all of a sudden they're tough shots. It's not him just, hey, let's lace this up. Cash. You lost the game where Nikola Jokic didn't score 10 points. And Billy Donovan, listen, I like how he uses his press conference. He calls out the Bulls in the press conference basically saying, hey, listen, you got to be better. We got to be better as a team. We can't live on these moments in the past. And you see it so often. They live on these moments. They sit there and it's just like debating with the ref, arguing with the Vooch, Zach, DeMar, all three of them, even Dragic to an extent, right? Sitting there trying to work over the ref, but at the same time, a play is happening down on the other end and somebody's getting an easy bucket. At the same time, right now, you're running back down there trying to get back into play. Not only are they getting an easy bucket, but you're also getting a foul on the wrist. And so you got to figure out what the mindset is that you want to come into these games with. You got to figure out the Bulls' mindset yesterday was awful. And for the most of this season, right, Bulls have lost 4 of their last 5. For most of this season, the Bulls' mindset has been awful. Coming out slow, coming out lethargic, coming out right. Hey, listen, second of a back-to-back. Zach LaVine coming back in, right? I need to see more out of him. I need to see more out of him. Even in this game, Zach LaVine, 21 points. He got up what? I think he went 7 for 18 or something like that. When you're 200 and that might actually be way too many shots. When you're Mr. 215 million, he was 8 for 15 yesterday. When you're $215 million, and I'm one of the people that thinks that he deserved every penny of it. But you got to play like you deserved every penny of it. Right? They paying you for past production and expect to get that in the future. And we haven't seen that here early on in this season. We've seen a couple of games where he looked good going into the fourth quarter. We got Zach TV and all of that, but you have to come out with the mindset that I have to be the focal point of this team. I have to be the fixed point of this team. I have to be the leader of this team. And you know what? I got the same smoke for Billy Donovan, because when Zach LaVine is playing like this, right, he's playing a little subpar, not giving you I'm not even going to say subpar, right? Like, just didn't come out with good energy. There were guys out there that were giving you good energy. There were guys out there that were giving you good play. There were guys out there that were fighting through. Patrick Williams had 8 points in the first 7 minutes of play? And you didn't want to go to him in those situations. You didn't want to call on his number in those situations. You didn't want to stick with him in those situations. And Billy Donovan has a tough time. No matter what you're doing, you have to be able to pivot. No matter what you're doing, you have to be able to pivot. And Billy Donovan has a tough time pivoting the game plan that he came into. Mike Malone didn't let 3 plays go by before he was calling a timeout. The Bulls would score 3 plays in a row, and he'd be like, timeout, let's stop the run. That's all I was asking for from Billy Donovan last night. That's all I was asking for from Billy Donovan last night. And here's the thing about, right, it's about the bigger picture. And like the video if you agree. It's about the bigger picture with this Bulls team. It's not just about what did they do last night. It's not just about what did they do the game before that, right, versus the what's these ones called? It's not just about what did you do, versus the Pelicans. It's about the mindset that you're coming out with on a consistent basis. And to me, the mindset that this Chicago Bulls team is coming out with on a consistent basis is that of cruise control. When you just set that mug to 60 miles an hour and you're saying, I'm not going no faster than this, I'm not going no slower than this, I'm just going to play this pace, and that's what it's going to be. And I would be fine with that if you were beating the teams that I thought you should be beating. And there's some good teams on this schedule that you're going to struggle against. But don't get too far behind, right? Like, that works. That, coast the mindset works if you're, a little bit above 500 going into the break. Right? Like, if the Bulls are a couple games above 500, 3-4 games above 500, right? I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, you're going into this above 500. You got a little bit of rest coming. You've kind of coasted the beginning of this season. Now in the second half of this season, you need to go hard. You need to start racking these wins up. You need to be playing dominant every single night. But you got to get to that point. And I'll tell you what, I'm not making any long-term predictions on the Chicago Bulls based off of what we saw last night, based off of what we've seen, 13 games into this season. I'm not making long-term predictions off of that at all. But what I am saying is this. The long-term prediction for me is that if your mindset doesn't improve, your game will not improve. And the Bulls' mindsets in the 4 of these 5 losses to me has been, hey, I'm just taking my time. Their mindset has been very I'm just going through the motions. I'm going to make this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then by the 3rd and 4th quarter, they're like, no, we got to get back in this game. Let's go. We got to get to work. But when you spend so much energy when you're down, how are you going to get back up? When you spend so much energy being down, how do you get back up? That's the part the Chicago Bulls got to figure out. Game versus Boston, competitive. They've only had 2 games this season that weren't competitive. But you spent that entire game trying to just claw your way back in it. You haven't seen that game where you felt like, oh, the stars are being stars. You haven't seen that game where you felt like, oh, man, the Bulls are really coming out here tonight, and I can tell that there's nothing the team across from them can do to get back in this game. We got this. We haven't seen that game yet. And that's the game I'm waiting for. And that comes with a different kind of mentality. And it's a mentality that we haven't seen the Chicago Bulls have this season. Bulls got to get their minds right. Bulls got to get their game right. And I think that, I mean, listen, I think half of it is mental, and Billy Donovan talked about as much, right? When he's talking about the team, he says that they're sticking on plays too long. They want so bad to get back into these games. They want so bad to be able to fight back into these games right away. You see them take bad shots. You see them take shots that just aren't advised. You see them take shots that aren't going in. That's a problem. Now, I know last night leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, right? But we've seen better defensive play. And I think that's the thing, right? It's about want to. There's too many games where it seems like there's just so many moments of, I don't want to. I don't know if that's on Billy Donovan. I don't know. Like, you got to get more out of it. I don't know. But, like, there seems like there's too many games of I don't want to. Or too many moments of I don't want to. Right? Like, you look at the scoring droughts, and then they're struggling to score the ball, and then on defense, they're not getting back and making plays defensively, and right, like, it compounds. There's too many compounded. Same thing that we were talking about with the Bears, right? You can't compound the problems with other problems. And then, right, you're mad that you didn't get a call on that end, so now you want to go to work on this end. You're moving too quick. Bucci gets called for a travel, or DeMar gets pissed off. Now he's down on the other end. He gets called for a technical foul, or, you know, whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be. There's too many moments with this Chicago Bulls team of that didn't look like you gave enough effort. And again, I'm not making long-term predictions, grand predictions on any of that, right? But when you get beaten a game 126-103, there's definitely, it wasn't like they was just, oh, they splashing on us, they destroying us. No, they had wide open shots and they made them. And for the most part, they didn't make them most of the night. Michael Porter Jr. cooked you, which I'll never forgive Garpax for not making that play. But you know what I mean? Like, in all honesty, you got beat by one dude. You got to be stronger than that. And Billy Donovan talked about it. He's like, that's what young teams do. We're not a young team. That's what young teams do. Sitting there worried about the last play, the last call, 2 plays ago. You know, arguing with the ref about 2-3 plays ago. That's what young teams do. We can't be doing that. We got to move on. Let's go. They got to get that figured out, man. You got to get the mentality figured out. There has to be somebody who's going to take the stand. I mean, DeMar essentially, right, like teams are playing him differently, and his shot hasn't been falling the last couple of games, and teams are playing him differently, and he's taking less shots. And, I mean, there's got to be some accountability on, right, DeMar's taking less shots. Hey, Zach, take more. You're our guy, right? You're our max player. You're our number one. Take more. Get going. And for me, right, my accountability, I'm not only looking at Zach LaVine, I'm looking at Billy Donovan. Hey, yo, every time you call a play for P. Will, he actually makes something happen. He's mad efficient. 15 points last night, 6 for 9. Every time you do something for P. Will, like you set something up for P. Will, he seems to be in position to make a play or get a bucket or something like that. Like, let's do that. What's going on? Why aren't we doing more of that if DeMar's not knocking down shots? And it's not even knocking down, not taking them. I think he took 11 shots last night. Shots can't be the question mark. It ain't just the mentality of the players, it's the mentality of the coaches too. My issue with Billy Donovan the entire time has been that he don't adjust well. Last night was another night where I'm watching MPJ absolutely cook Alex Caruso, who's struggled to start this season off right offensively more than anything, but he basically was out there running and jumping, and you didn't put P. Will on MPJ to try and slow him down in the slightest in that second half. By the time you put P. Will back in, MPJ had already made 30 points, and the game was over. The Bulls seem like a team right now early on in the season that's mentally fragile. And that's something that we got to fix right now. That's not something that can be long term, right? Talent's good. Listen, I know they talented. Zach LaVine can play. There's a lot of people that don't like how he plays. Zach LaVine can play. DeMar DeRozan can play. Nikola Vucevic can play. They got talent. Dragic can score. Heck, your two pieces, right? Last night, your two pieces that everybody was complaining about in the offseason showed out. Dragic played well. Drummond played great. Drummond gave you a double-double last night. That's what I'm asking for off my bench. But the mentality has to be fixed. The Bulls' mentality of being worried about plays that happen and they can't move past them and stuff like that, and you're getting technical fouls and compounding issues with other issues, that has to be fixed. There's no talent you could bring in unless you bring in somebody that just is the perfect mental wizard or something like that. Like that's the thing to me that needs to be fixed the most, man. But hey, hopefully, we'll be previewing this Bulls game tomorrow. We'll be talking about, the game that's coming up on Wednesday, I should say. So tune in with us on that. We'll have content dropping throughout the day as well. I do appreciate you guys for tuning in for another episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Tough weekend for Chicago. Let's hope that the rest of this week goes a lot better. We need some Bulls dubs in this mug, man. Bulls have lost 4 of their last 5, so hopefully some wins will make us feel a little bit better. We got a lot of some trade talks around Kobe White, so maybe he could be getting moved sooner than later, and maybe we can be getting somebody in here that's going to help the situation. I don't know where that's going to go, but we'll talk about all that and more as we continue throughout the week. Appreciate you guys for tuning in with us for another episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. If you haven't done so, make sure that you
push the button. Come on, push the button. Come on, push the button.
Yeah, come on, push your button.
hit that like button, subscribe to the page, and if you're listening on the podcast side, make sure you leave a 5-star review. If you want to join the Discord is in the chat pinned at the top. Click the link on there, and you will be able to join the Discord. As always, man, it's your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again to continue watching our Chicago sports content. Click the links on the screen or check the links in the